I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for another opportunity to come together to serve each other and to serve you. We pray that you guide these proceedings and our decisions and our discussions and help us to do the very best that we can by each other and honor you in everything that we do. We thank you for this community in which we live and for each other and for this great country that we live in also. We pray that you always be with those who give so much to give us the life that we enjoy and protect our freedoms and our way of life. And we pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Okay, everybody has a copy of the minutes. Has everyone read the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections?
I need a clarification on one.
Yes, sir.
On this first page here, case one, it says that if respondent fails to comply and bring property into compliance, that the board says to fine $25 per vehicle. Is that per day, per vehicle? Per day?
Yes.
It's per day, and that's a good catch. It was $25 per day.
You want to add then?
Amend the minutes.
Might as
Make a
well,
motion.
yeah.
We need to have a motion to amend the minutes. to
Okay,
include-
Gordon, you want to make a motion to amend it to say per day?
Yeah, so moved.
So then I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye? Okay, then we'll take a vote to accept the minutes as amended. Somebody make that motion?
I move we accept the motion as amended.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, the minutes are accepted as amended. Let's see. Any announcements, Anna? Anything from the code officers? I understand we have a new chief.
And that's what I was going to say.
Okay, great.
Michael Lynch is now our new code enforcement manager. And we will be, or have advertised for another code officer to fill his position.
Okay. And we were just looking, there's still one vacant slot. Is that correct? To whom do I address this?
One
Uh,
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be, is that Commissioner Gladwell or Commissioner Trace?
Probably speak a little bit to
I mean,
that.
Trey Nix.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which district the vacancy is on, but that is something that's going to be coming to the Board of County Commissioners, I believe, this upcoming meeting next Tuesday, to talk about filling some of the vacancies and some of the seats that are up on the various appointed boards.
There's an applicant for this board that I had understood was going to be appointed to the board, Alan Barnes.
I'm not familiar with that. If it may have already come through, just not come to my attention, but it also could be somebody that's just has yet to be brought up to the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
But if you happen to speak with somebody, feel free to have them reach out to my office or somebody to make sure that we got their information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, well then, I guess we're ready to swear in everyone who's going to speak to us this evening. And who would that be? If there's a case in which you think you will testify, please stand and be sworn in.
Raise your right hand. Do you promise or affirm to speak the truth and nothing but the truth before these proceedings in your matter? Say, I do. I do. Thank you.
Okay.
All sworn, Mr. Commissioner?
All right, then we'll proceed to case number one, case 18-5344. Anna, it's yours to present.
Good evening, board members. Officer Anna Reichert, for the record, I am submitting this final report and presentation regarding this case. The title page, we have case number. The property owners are shown as Pablo's El Coqui LLC, located at 399 Pelican Circle, Inlet Beach. The violations we're discussing is section 1.1309C, building permits, and section 5.00.03, building setback requirements. This is the parcel picture from the Walton County Property Appraiser's Office website. Parcel numbers there. The land use is residential preservation. And again, the violations are building permits required and possible violation of front and side setbacks. And this is the sections we're discussing, and 1.1309C. Basically, we're talking about illegal storage shed that's been placed on the property, and this requires permits, and each application has to have a site drawing showing the actual dimensions, size, shape, the building that's going to be erected, and then the building setback requirements. If you look, number 1, single-family residential, 7.5 feet on the side, 15 in the rear, and 20 in the front. This is a picture of the storage shed. This is a picture showing from the pavement to the edge of the building. I measured closely. It's 14.5 feet from the edge of the pavement, and the minimum front setback is 20 feet. Here's the side setback, and the best I can tell, and this is roughly 7 feet from the property line, and it's required to be 7.5 feet from the property line. That's why I said possibly side setbacks. This will be actually determined through the planning department when the scale drawings are submitted. So the notice of violation was sent to Shannon P. Lentz, as shown as the registered agent through Florida Sunbiz. This is the notice of violation, and she did sign for it and received it. Okay, on October the 29th, 2018, a complaint was received regarding an unpermitted pool and a structure within setbacks on the property located at 399 Pelican Circle. On October 31st, I, Anna Reichert of Walton County Code Enforcement, I began an investigation and found an actual approved permit, 18-1156, for the pool, but no permit for the accessory structure. I conducted a site inspection and observed a prefab storage building located at the front of the property, and it appeared to be within the front and the side setbacks. Approximate measurements from the front edge of the building to the edge of the pavement was 14.5 feet, and approximately 7 feet from the side property line. On November 1st, a notice of violation was sent via certified mail, return receipt to owner of Pablo's L. Coquille LLC in care of Shannon P. Lentz. On November 6th, I received a phone call from the, or I didn't receive it, we received a phone message, and the notes were in the file, that the property owner had said that a permit application was submitted, and this was confirmed by the planning department. January 3rd, 2019, research shows that the permit application, it was placed on hold pending further information from the property owner, specifically a scale drawing showing the site plan and the location of the shed within the setbacks. The planning department requested information on December the 4th of 2018, but no further contact or information was provided. The notice of hearing was then sent certified mail for the hearing scheduled January the 17th of 2019. On January 17th, 2019, the United States Postal Tracking shows the notice of hearing was not delivered. So I rescheduled the hearing for today, February the 21st, 2019. I posted the notice on the property and the courthouse annex. These are pictures of the posting on the property and at the annex. And then on January the 19th, the first notice of hearing was returned to our office unclaimed, although the address information was exactly the same as the notice of violation, which was signed for and the receipt return receipt was received by our office. On February 20th, 2019, I had a discussion with the property owner by phone regarding the hearing. The property owner stated he would submit a new drawing with the location of the shed in the back of the property. The planning department forwarded an email with the drawing. The shed showed to be in the same location as it is now. Discussion with the planner, Devin Hobbs, stated the parcel is not big enough for the shed anywhere on the property without a variance. A follow-up phone message was left for Mr. Lentz stating the situation, but I got no return phone call. A reinspection today at about 1:00 p.m. shows the storage shed remains on the property in violation of the setbacks. My findings are that this is a lawfully constituted code enforcement proceeding convened pursuant to Chapter 162, Part 1, Florida statutes. The Code Board has jurisdiction over the subject matter and the respondent. Notice of this proceeding has been duly provided to the respondent as required by County Code. The respondent, Pablo's L. Coquille, LLC, in care of Shannon P. Lentz, registered agent by reason of the foregoing facts, is in violation of Section 1.13.09C of the County Code. The respondent is subject to the enforcement jurisdiction of the Code Board. Recommendations. It is my recommendation that the Code Enforcement Board determine that 1, the address 399 Pelican Circle is located within the unincorporated area of Walton County and is subject to the Walton County Land Development Code. That proper notice of hearing was given to the respondent. That a violation of the Walton County Land Development Code Section 1.13.09C does exist on the property. That the respondent is to correct the violation within 14 days of this order. The respondent is further ordered to contact the Walton County Code Enforcement Department to arrange for a reinspection of the subject property to verify compliance with this order. That if the respondent fails to comply with the above actions or fails to bring the property into compliance with the applicable codes, ordinances, and regulations according to this order, the board assess a fine of $250 a day, $250 a day until the property is brought into compliance.
And how long did you say they had?
2 weeks.
2.
And my reason for that is this started in October 29th with repeated notifications that were returned even after signature for the first notice and no contact from them for months to the planning department or our department.
Okay.
And Anna, if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, for her to come into compliance, from what you said, is the only compliance she can do is remove the shed.
Correct.
Any other questions for Ms. Reichard?
Where do you normally measure the setback? How do you measure a setback?
From property line surveyed. That's why I'm not putting that as the violation, because approximately it looks to be in violation of setbacks, but that would be determined by the planning department from the scale drawings that she's required to turn in.
So the violation is on the side?
The violation is front and side currently. But what I'm saying is in violation definitely is the lack of the permits.
What about the overhang? Is it, you don't measure the overhang, you measure just the foundation? The
I
overhang
think
and
it's the
height?
footprint of the building. Again, that's going to be a planning department determination through the drawings.
Okay. Do I have to accept what Anna's done into evidence?
Yes, you
Then
can
I-
accept that into evidence.
I will accept it into evidence. And is there anyone here is the alleged violator? Okay.
I don't have anything on a.
Would you stand up to the podium, please?
And you'll need to state your name and your address, please, ma'am.
My name is Shannon Lentz. Pablo's El Coquille LLC is just my family trust. We are full-time residents of the house.
Um,
Ma'am, could you spell your last name for us, please?
Yes, Lince.
Thank you.
Our address is 399 Pelican Circle. This is the part that's tricky. I think it's Seacrest, Florida. I would love to know because every time I put in my zip code, it comes up something different. But my post lady says Seacrest. So that's what I write. First of all, where the building sits now is definitely not supposed to be where the building is. We purchased this building along with a second building 10 minutes down the road from Weather King distributor Don and Donnie Castleberry. It's 10 minutes down the road off of 20. And we asked our neighbor next door to us who has a shed in his backyard, and his neighbor has a shed in his backyard. And we stopped at this Weather King, and we were going to get a shed for our backyard. And they didn't say anything about us needing a building permit. In fact, we asked. It said that it didn't come to the size requirement of needing a building permit. We looked on the website, the county website, which said we thought we read under 480 square feet. This is an 8 by 16 building. So it was supposed to go into our backyard. We had the owners of the company come out to our house 3 different times to measure and make sure that we were within what we were supposed to be within, measuring according to the setbacks that we read on the websites for the backyard, not the front yard. I would never do something like put a storage shed in my front yard, living in a neighborhood. Now, if I lived out in the country, for sure. Like when I lived on my 300 acres, sure, I'd put my storage shed. But obviously, I understand we weren't trying to break any rules. And as far as the time frame goes, in November, I know it's been a long time, and I totally accept that. I have been fighting back and forth with this company, number one, because I purchased 2 sheds, over $10,000 worth of sheds, and I've been fighting with them for a year just to get them. Because I don't know why. I don't know why. It's a bad business. I don't know how many times they've bought and sold that building to people, and then they find out they can't have it on their lot because it's under 500 square feet, like it says on your website, but that's only part of Walton County. So I guess that's how legally they get by with doing that. But we had them out 3 times. So we did not realize we needed the building permit. None of our neighbors said we needed them. They had the same exact building sheds in their backyards. These people said we didn't need it, so we bought them. And when they went to deliver it, the delivery guy says, although I had cut down trees and cut down my back fence, that he couldn't deliver it there, and he dropped it on my driveway. Now, my husband's in the military and was deployed. That's why his lack of communicating with you. And in January, I was in New York State having Thanksgiving with my oldest daughter. I did get snowed in up there, so November, I was down and did not respond. When I came back in December, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say December happened. And when I did get back in January, we have a second home in Sarasota. When I did get back in January, I did get the notice that was on the house. And I have been desperately trying to work with this Don Castleberry of this Weather King place to get this thing moved. And he just puts it off as his, and that's part of the contract is there is supposed to be delivery. So now I've been tossed to the delivery company, and I can't get with the delivery company because there's been to deliver it or move it to the backyard because there's been a black utility pipe running along the backyard until yesterday. They buried it yesterday. and I was gonna have it moved to the backyard. But what I have found out is I do have to submit a building permit with the building in the backyard.
Wait a minute, say that again, everybody was,
I have to, I have to move the I know I have to move the building, which I'm desperately trying to do, and have been trying to do. I just keep getting scammed by this business owner, and I don't know who to call to move something like this, number one. But number two, I've been waiting for that pipe to get buried so I could get it into my backyard, hopefully. If it was gonna get it moved into my backyard. My husband and I have not had good communication because I thought that the building plans that he submitted showed the building in the backyard. And all he did was submit a picture of the building as it sits now in the front yard, which is not where it was ever supposed to be. It was supposed to be in the backyard.
Well, did she make the statement that, there's nowhere on the lot that it could be put, or is that
Well,
legally?
she says that, he says that, but, I mean, I know we're not here to argue this right now, but my neighbor next door has one in the same exact spot in his backyard, and his neighbor beside him has one exactly in the same spot in his backyard. I mean, I asked everybody up and down my street. Everybody has one. I'm the only one that doesn't. And I never would have done that without, following the rules, but
It's
everybody.
probably the front
Violation's
yard.
gotta go.
Pardon?
It's probably because it's in the front yard.
Right, and it was
Not-
never supposed to be there, ever, ever. They took advantage of me because my husband was deployed, I was there alone, and the guy came to deliver it, and he didn't wanna put it in the backyard. And he just dumped it on my driveway, and I've been trying to get them to move it ever since. And their way out of it has been, the last month, has been, well, there's a black pipe in front of your fence in the backyard. We can't move it as long as that pipe is there. They were, very, utility.
but now the pipe has been moved, and
Yes.
theoretically, they could move the building.
Yes, it could be moved into my backyard. There was a gate installed there, everything to move it into the backyard. And I hate to do it, they all have their buildings positioned, along their fence lines. There's my big gate, that big gate you see. If I jammed it all the way up against my pool, it would meet all the setbacks that are recorded. I sure hate to cut down any more trees. I only cut down a limb of an oak tree to squeeze that pool in there.
Okay.
But, it will fit with the setbacks if I put it all the way up against the pool here. The lot's 50 feet, the building's 16 feet. So the setbacks are 20, or
15 in the back,
15.
yeah.
Did other people have a pool, or they just have other people have a,
No,
building?
just hot tubs. Well, one has a pool, yeah, one has a pool and one has the hot tub.
is his up against the pool?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, that one. That's the shed, and then the pool, and then the house. And then, otherwise I would have done it. I just went by what was, it's a 30-year-old neighborhood, so I just went with what everybody else had done. And again, I had never intended it to be in the front yard, ever. That's not my intention. So if I could just have at least 2 weeks to try and put some pressure on this Don Castleberry and say, look, I'm gonna have a lawyer. I already tried serving him once. He resold one of the buildings I purchased from him, so all I lost was my state tax. But, I have a feeling this guy is doing this as a scam and reselling these buildings over and over again. But now this one's sitting in my lot, I don't know what to do. You know, the only place I could move it, the only place on my lot that I can put it is right back there. And it's been blocked until absolutely yesterday.
If,
I was out there when they buried it.
if you had your choice, would you want the building removed or you want it placed in the backyard?
Oh, I want it in my backyard. I want somewhere that's for garden tools, that's all
Okay.
it's for.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, she gave me 2 weeks, I think, is that right?
Yeah, she said 14 days.
But I heard something conflicting, so your position is that it would be in compliance if you move into the backyard against the pool within, and not encroach into the setbacks. Officer Reichert states otherwise.
That's correct. I would have the 15, it's 50 feet across in the back, so I'd have the 15 and the 15, and then it's, 16 feet long.
Okay. So, I mean, how we resolve that through the site plan submittal? And
Right, so would I just maybe use my pool site plan that I use for my pool, and then drop the building measurement in on that? and
Well, I'm
submit
gonna
that?
let Officer Reichert, I think how it
I
works.
have not been in the backyard. I don't know what those measurements are. I'm just going by what the planner, Devin, said. According to his calculations, he didn't think that there was a spot on the property that it would fit unless they got a variance. And again, all of this takes time, and they have not been in communication, so I don't know he was deployed, I didn't know she was, you know, out of town, you know, all of that. There's lack of communication is the situation, so.
And
That's
what
up to
about the guy's contention that the building doesn't need a permit because it's less than 400 square feet? I've heard this off and on for years. It's not true, right?
South Walton is a different animal.
In South Walton, a doghouse, a 4x4 doghouse needs a building permit, is that right?
Again, that's gonna be a planning question, so that's why they need to start at planning before they put a building in, so that they can be addressed, all those things can be addressed.
The doghouse can blow away in a storm.
So could this building, yeah.
How you turn this thing on?
There you
Oh,
go.
there you go. So what does she need to do within this 14-day period? Move the shed or do a building permit? And then get it evaluated
Just
to move
based
the
on what the
shed?
planner told me, I don't know how long a variance would take, but again, we've had several months where it's just been sitting there, and it's gonna be sitting there several more months if we
No,
allow them to do the variance,
no, not
because you can't move it without a permit. You can remove it, but you can't move it without a permit, so it's up to you.
like half the cost of the building.
So, I just tell you my recommendations, so.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I've tried, I've been trying, I have not tried to avoid, that is not what I'm
Ma'am,
trying.
ma'am, could you go back to the podium so that you can record you? I'm sorry. Thank you.
I have not tried to avoid the code enforcement officer. I was stranded in New York State with the first snowstorm of the season. My husband was deployed, and when I got back in January, I got the notice that was on the door. I was not there at the residence, hence why you got the second notice back. So my husband has been in contact with you. It has been a lack of communication between code enforcement, building department, my husband, and frankly, me. And I've been hoodwinked and battling this business for a year and a half, almost 2 years now, that they've had over $10,000 of my money, and all I wanted to do was put a garden shed in my backyard like all of my neighbors have. This was not supposed to turn into some headache nightmare. And $700 to get a variance to put up a garden shed in my backyard. You know, if everyone else has done that, if that's what is everyone in my neighborhood has had to do, that's fine, I'll do that. But me being singled out, I find unreasonable.
Okay, has anybody got any?
Thank you,
Mrs.
and I will
Hold
do
on just
whatever I
one
have to
sec,
do.
okay?
I want to clarify
Yeah.
for the record, too. You said you've been saying your husband's been deployed. Is he currently deployed in what branch of the service?
No, he's in the Army Reserves now. He is due to go to, he also works with the Georgia National Guard. He's due to go to Savannah tomorrow, and then he is at MacDill Air Force Base, or at MacDill in Tampa in March. And he was transferring from the Georgia National Guard to the Army National Reserves when all this government shutdown stuff happened, and we just got caught up in it. So we have been in flux for 3 months now. And thank God he's finally found a place to land. But that will be Tampa eventually.
Okay,
Hence why we have a place in Sarasota.
any other questions then for Mrs. Lentz? If not, I'll close the public part of the hearing and we'll talk about this amongst ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody?
I don't think we're gonna be get that shed there. You got too much shed, not enough yard. It's a classic. You may have setbacks and covenants in that subdivision besides the county requirements.
Well, that's a matter that she can argue with the planning department. The problem is that, I'm sympathetic to her plight, okay, for sure, an unresponsive contractor, but it needs to get resolved. So it could get resolved if she can get a building permit and put it in a place that pleases the county, or it could get resolved if she can give it back to the people and get her money back.
She can't do it in 14 days in Walden County.
Right. So if we gave her some period of time in which we thought it could occur, that would seem reasonable to me, but that's my opinion.
Is it possible to give her the 30 days and table this to the next meeting?
Yeah, it is possible, but I think we owe it to the world to make a decision now and give her some
30
period
days.
of time
Apply for
to
a building.
comply. And if she can't, then she could come back and say, hey, for these reasons, I couldn't comply.
But she would still have the ability to come back and say,
Yeah, she could come
okay.
back.
It's been months now.
It's been months now, but as she's pointed out, she had some difficulties doing it. Again, my opinion, and no, ma'am, this part you can't talk. Okay, so anybody else want to say something? If not, I'll look for a motion and we'll figure out what to do.
Will any fine accrue during this?
Yeah, well, right now, if we were to accept Officer Reichert's recommendation, there would be 14 days in which no fine would occur. And on the 15th day, there'd be a fine of $250 a day.
That we could still,
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
I'd like to accept the offer, but extend the 14 days to 30 days.
Yeah, you can do that. You can move that we accept her recommendation and move for 30 days. Anybody second it?
Well, before you do, Officer Reichert clarified her summary that the only way to comply was to move the building, to remove the building. Are you wanting to do 30 days to remove the building, and that's the only compliance, or to either remove the building and/or apply for the variance or permit?
Well, couldn't we solve that by simply saying she has to come into compliance within 30 days?
Well, compliance, according to Officer Reichert's testimony, the only way she can comply under her recommendation was to remove the building.
But she could get a permit.
And that's what I'm asking you,
But
if you
very-
make your motion for 30 days to come into compliance, and compliance can be either, as you stated, filing for the variance or removing the building.
Now,
Is that
If-
what you
if-
wish to, is that
well,
what you wish
if
to?
the permit is declined because she can't meet the variance,
Right,
then she has to remove the building.
right, within that,
But her contention is that she doesn't need a variance, that it will fit in the backyard without a variance.
She's gonna need a survey. Not a variance. You gotta see where that line is.
Well, yeah, but it would seem to me if she can get a survey and prove to the county
Yeah.
that the building fits in an area in which she doesn't need a variance, then she's in compliance. So it would seem that she either needs to prove that or remove the building.
and that's my question, do you want her to, for your order to reflect that she either applies for the variance or she removes the building, comes into compliance?
Comes into, not the variance,
Permits,
yeah.
okay.
Not the,
Right.
that she
Permit.
either gets properly permitted or removes the building within 30 days.
Correct.
that's
Yeah, you want to restate that?
The real problem
Max
is
gonna-
that
Uh-oh.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, if she's planning to apply for a variance, the next board meeting that she will be able to get on the agenda for is more than 30 days from now.
But again, I'm not hoping that, I'm hoping she doesn't have to apply for a variance, that she can
And
fit the building in.
Typically, variance requests can't be granted for self-created problems.
But if the building fits in an area in which no variance is required, isn't that then compliance?
That would be in
If she has a building
compliance.
permit?
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying
Correct.
she has the right to do.
That's
Just wanted to clarify the schedule for
I'm
the Board of
avoiding
Adjustment.
the subject of variance altogether.
I mean, my viewpoint is, I mean, not to dispute anything Anna's saying or whoever went out there and said it would fit, but until we go through that actual permit application, that's with the site plan, the survey, we're not gonna know whether or not.
Right,
So
right.
that's what the first step is to try to achieve compliance through permitting the building.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And if she can't do that, then
Then
hey,
she will have to.
take the building away. All right, so you've made the motion when we had this, somebody has to second it so that they can, all right, the conversation we had occurs.
Can
All right,
somebody please restate it, please?
Yeah, Renee, would you?
My understanding is that your motion is to find her in violation, and she has 30 days to conform and comply with the code, and that compliance can either be by applying for a building permit or by removing the building. Now, you do need to have a time, I would suggest adding that she has, say, 2 weeks after or a week after her denial of a building permit to remove the building, so we're not back here with that.
The problem is that the permit, the period in which she could apply for a permit could drag on for a good long while.
Technically,
Yeah.
they have started the process. They haven't supplied the paperwork that's needed, the survey, scale drawing, measurement.
They have started the permit
They
application
were lacking.
process.
They started that in December,
December 4th.
but they didn't reply to the request for more information, meaning the survey, the scale drawings, the measurements.
And is it possible, do you think, I guess, to get a permit in 30 days?
I don't know.
If everything were
And I
together.
don't mind you, honestly, giving her more time.
All right, well then, let's do that. And if she finds that in the process she can't do it, she has the right to come back and say,
I
hey,
agree.
I did everything I should, but,
So according, we're probably gonna need to redo the motion in the first and the second, whoever made the motion. So the motion, our understanding, is 30 days to come in compliance, whether that be for permit or removing the building. If she hasn't gotten a permit in 30 days, then she removes the building. Is that what you're wanting to do?
I think
Yes.
that's fair.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, because she's already started the permit, so that being said, so she either has her permit within 30 days or she removes the building in 30 days.
Should she, if she starts the permit process but cannot actually get the permit in 30 days, is there
Well,
gonna?
she's already started the permit process.
Well, I know that,
Yeah.
but still, if she
Then she
can't get the
can come
permit
for
in
a-
30 days, are we still saying?
She can come and,
But it's
then she
underway.
can come and ask for an extension at
Yeah.
that time.
Well, that's what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
All right,
John,
then,
John, did you second?
Yes, second.
Did you second that change?
all right, so I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and any opposed? Then the motion carries. Okay, you understand? You have 30 days? Make it happen. All right, thank you. Okay, look, there's been a request for the fifth case to come up next. That person has something they need to do and needs to get out of here if they could. Does anybody object to moving case number 5 to the second position? Okay, if not, then who's going to present case number 5?
Matt Carver for the Planning Department. This particular case came to us as part of a pending sale of a property that has an existing, a group of dilapidated mobile homes from several years ago. I believe the original violator is deceased now, and the property is in the possession of heirs. There's a purchaser that wishes to remove the dilapidated mobile homes that are on this property. There's some concern about whether or not the lien was properly placed on the property. And it would be the position of the planning department that if we can get this cleaned up, that's in the best interest of Walton County.
Okay.
And Ms. Sally Merrifield is the realtor involved with the transaction, and she can give you some more details.
Okay.
My name is Sally Merrifield. I'm the broker owner of Merrifield and Pilcher Realty in Defuniak. And Renee, I did find the listing of Renee.
Very good, thank you.
I represent the seller, the current seller on this property. In 2009, a finding of noncompliance was issued on this property, but it was issued to a Cecil E. and Linda D. Bryant, who are unknown to the current owner. That Linda D. Bryant lived in Niceville. I've researched the address and the parcel number that was on the noncompliance order, neither of which can I find in the Okaloosa County Property Appraiser's office. But the current owner, the original owner, not of the property, but in this chain, was Joseph Edward Nelson. And he purchased the property in 1989 and owned it until his death in November 18, 2016. He had been the sole owner since 2001. Previously, there was a wife's name on the deed, but then it went solely in Mr. Nelson's name in 2001. After he was deceased, the property went to his three daughters, Deborah, Sherry, and Linda. The estate was probated and filed in the Walton County Courthouse in 2017. Following the probate, Mr. Nelson's daughter, Linda, who is Linda Lee Bryant, the lien was filed against a Linda D. Bryant. We don't know who that is. Linda Lee does not have any idea who that is. But Linda Lee bought the interest of the two sisters. Then in April of 2018, I listed the property for sale. In October of 2018, we finalized our first sales contract on this property, and it was during that title search that we discovered there had been a code enforcement lien filed against the property. None of Mr. Nelson's heirs were aware of this. Nothing was shown when the probate was done. So it was an unknown to everybody until the title work was done. The first contract we had on it, the buyer backed out because when I contacted code enforcement, they told me the lien was about $90,000. The property's only selling for $108,000, and there's a $75,000 mortgage on it. Plus, the seller has additional closing costs that she's going to have to pay, so there just wasn't any money. I tried different avenues trying to figure out what to do and how to do, and so I finally ended up contacting Mr. Carpenter and asked him to help me. We're under contract again with a new buyer who has agreed to remove the mobile homes. He has the equipment to do it, and also his bank is requiring that those mobile homes be removed as part of his mortgage. We don't know how old the mobile homes are. The daughter that I'm working with told me that as best she could recall, they were there when her daddy purchased the property in 1989. They're not habitable. They're in horrible disrepair, so nobody can live in them anyway, but he wants them off, the new buyer wants them off the property. We don't have any titles to them or anything like that. But we're asking that the lien be released so that we can sell the property and get the mobile homes off. Like I said, I don't know who Cecil E. and Linda D. Bryant are that were listed as the plaintiffs in this, because that's not the owner and never has been the owner of the property since 1989.
Okay.
If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
What
Yeah.
is the case number from 2009 for the Code Enforcement Board? It should be on the title search.
It's right here. Give me a minute to find it. I've got so many papers. The case number was 08-00000340.
You may want to verify from Mac, just for the record, that he researched it and this, Cecil and Linda Bryant aren't in the chain of custody, because it sounds like this was
I've got the-
mistakenly placed.
I've got the title commitment as well as, the property appraiser's information on it.
Well, what could conceivably happen? Those two people could suddenly appear and say that, hey, this is our property?
No, what probably happened is it got filed on the wrong piece of property.
But if in fact it didn't, then what would happen?
They don't have any they don't have any, if the title search, if they don't have any ownership in the property, then this is, obviously it was a debt to own Cecil and Linda Bryant at some point. They either were with could have been with another case,
Yeah.
a code board case, and it was just a snafu with the paperwork.
Uh-huh.
So they may have gotten a free deal on their piece of property, but, we don't have a clue as to that case, and that's not before us at this time.
Okay, I was just worried that some consequence could attach later on because,
They'd have to bring it forward to be addressed at that time.
okay.
The title
But,
search
you know,
did, the
and
title
that-
search did
Matt,
not
correct me
show,
if I'm wrong, but what's, I'm sorry, Ms. Muirfield.
Matt, she can't, oh, she can't.
Sally? Mr. Chairman, it's just come to my attention that it's possible that the title search performed on this particular property may have picked up an unrelated filing in public
unrelated?
records that relates to a parcel in Oakwood Hills and not the subject parcel,
Just an error.
even though it came up in the title search for Ms. Sally's
Twice.
property.
and I don't know if it's because it was a Linda D. Bryant and my seller is Linda Lee,
Yeah.
L-E-E Bryant.
Right.
So Matt, what you're saying is, it's until that's settled as to whether or not there's actually a lien on this property, we can't really make a decision?
Well, actually,
Is
the
there
actual
a legal-
filing that came back in reference to the title search done by First American Title Insurance Company, the documents reference a different parcel ID that's in a different part of the county.
No, that's not
It's
us.
just a
We're not
lien
winning.
against that name, and they needed to
So we
say
can't,
that this isn't me, one of those things, instead of anything to do with the property.
That's the
It sounds
parcel
like
ID.
what Matt's saying is the title company
The one that
made a
came back
mistake, not-
attached to your
not
last-
us.
Associated individuals
Uh-huh.
instead of the
17.
property.
Right, so her title search is incorrect, not that we need to.
So there
make
might
it-
not even
be a
We
lien on
may
this.
not
My
even need to
property
make a
I'm
motion.
selling
on
is
that.
17. That
violation on
was
that parcel.
the parcel that's on this
We got to
code
know
enforcement thing is in.
Well, how can we
We
excuse
don't
it?
know
That
it's
was
not
the parcel
sufficient.
number.
We can't excuse a lien that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Hold on.
I don't.
Every time I closed on a house, I had to sign about 15
That's
different
Right.
things that says I'm not this guy.
So how did this get
Oh,
through another owner without that lien being paid?
Pardon?
How did this go through another title and owner without that lien
It
being paid to the
hasn't.
county?
It hasn't, it's had the same owner since 1989.
But he died.
And he died in 2016.
So
This was
they
in
want
2009.
to release the lien, so no one's gonna pay anything.
No, we don't know that there's actual lien on this
There may
property.
not be a
The
lien.
previous title companies.
The title companies.
Why are we hearing this?
You
Why is
got
this
me.
coming before us?
We may
I'm
not
sorry.
have to-
I don't know.
I
I've
own
been
a lot of
trying,
property and I'm totally confused.
and I started getting everything together for this tonight, and that's
Well,
what.
maybe we should table this and you come back
No,
and
with it.
got some more clarification.
Well, we have a closing date of February the 27th, so.
Mac.
We need to know.
If I could make a suggestion, if we can confirm that the lien that's identified with this particular title search is in fact subject to a different piece of property, then we can clear up the title search part on Miss Sally's pending sale without the code board having to take action.
Okay, so Renee, we don't need to do anything?
We don't need to do anything at this time. You can table it until Max sees the need to bring it back.
I
Will
move
that
we
affect their
table it.
closing?
Well, her closing is either gonna be, if it's got a lien on it, then she will have to come back to ask for it, but right now, we can't
If it
verify
don't
that
have, she
there is
won't
a
have to
lien.
come back.
So you can't make a ruling on a supposition,
Right.
on an assumption.
I move we table this until we get further clarification.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's tabled.
Thank you. I think we can
Yep,
resolve this
thank you.
administratively.
Okay,
Thank you.
moving right along, let's do number 3. And that would be, number 2, you're right, I skipped my way out there. We did 1 and 5.
You just want to go home early, I know.
Yeah, I was hoping
I'm
about,
with you.
looking for dinner, yeah.
First and drag.
Do we need to take a break, or let's do number 2? Let's move right along.
Let's go.
Mr. Lynch,
Is this a long one or a short one?
Should be
it's gonna be a short one, I can tell you right now.
Junk and debris.
Yellow Mr. Lynch.
I like that scene.
Good evening, Board. Officer Michael Lynch. For the record, I'm submitting my final report in this presentation. This case is number 18-001854, involving parcel 163 North 20 28060 the property of Kendrick and Anna Hogans. It's located at 112 Blue Ridge Boulevard in Defuniak Springs. The land use for this property is rural low density, and the violation that we're going to be addressing this evening is 7.02.01A1, specifically junk and abandoned vehicles, junk and debris. The parcel is located in the northern area of the county on Blue Ridge Boulevard. This is from the property appraiser's website. Specifically, as far as the code, jumping down to number 1, it says no owner or occupant shall cause or permit junk, litter, or junked or abandoned motor vehicles to remain in or upon any yard, garden, lawn, open outbuilding, or open area of any private property in the county within the residential or mixed-use zoning districts for a period in excess of 30 days. This case originated way back in May. The original complaint was May 10th, and former manager Bill Williams was the investigator on this. I'm going to kind of jump forward because there wasn't a lot of motion. There wasn't much progress on this case for about 6 months. When Manager Williams resigned his post on the 18th of October, he closed this case. I found no reason for that action, but we received another complaint on November 2nd when I was assigned this case. So I'm going to be picking up my knowledge of this case. I received this case. I then went out and inspected the property and observed several junk cars, no registration on the vehicles, junk and debris scattered across the property. There's 2 sheds, there's boats, there's campers, there's a lot of stuff on this property, which you will see. On November 6th, I sent a notice of violation to the property owner via certified mail, and that was the property that was shown on the property appraiser's website. On the 14th of November, I received the returned notice of violation as showing vacant and unable to forward. On November 30th, I re-inspected the property and found no change in the condition. I then prepared a notice of violation. We've got violations that have an adhesive back that we can just stick to a property. So I felt if the property owner wasn't able to receive my mailings, I'm going to make sure that he's able to see that we're notifying him that there's a violation. So I did post a notice of violation for the junk and debris. On December 7th, I re-inspected and found no change, as well as January 8th. Again, no change in the property condition. On January 17th, I prepared and sent a new notice of violation with the current code citation and a notice of hearing via certified mail. Our old statute was 5.07.08C, and the new statute, which would be applicable today, is 7.02.01A1. So we just need to make sure we were talking apples to apples and oranges to oranges. On January 29th, I received information that the property owner was attempting to contact me. I attempted to contact the property owner at the phone numbers that he had provided, but got no answer. So I left voice messages for him to call back. On January 30th, I called the property owner again and left another message and advised him that this matter is being scheduled for the February 21st Code Enforcement Board hearing. I also, on that same date, then posted a notice of hearing on the same shed as the prior notice of violation was posted. I posted a copy of the notice of hearing at the front door here at the South Walton Annex, and I also prepared an affidavit of service. Now, subsequent to this posting, I was finally able to make contact with the property owner, and he advised me that he's been having some health issues and he's not been able to work on his property. I advised the property owner that I've sent several notices to him at the address listed at 294 Bruce Avenue in Defuniak Springs, and the property owner advised me at that time that they no longer live there or receive mail there. At that point he said, you know, we're getting our mail at 112 Blue Ridge Boulevard. So that is the chronology of this case. The conditions, when I first went out on November 2nd, as you can see, multiple cars, you've got an old boat there. The SUV that you see kind of back behind that first shed, there's an actual tree laying across it, which that exists today. Just a different view on the same date. There I zoomed in, we've got a derelict vehicle back there with a boat over top, and yet you can see another vehicle with the trunk open in the background behind it. Just some junk and debris across. This is on January 8th on my inspection. This is the original notice of violation that I sent on November 6th, and then we got the return, unable to deliver on November 14th. I then posted the property on November 30th. This is the notice of violation with the adhesive back. Then on January 17th, again, after not getting any response at all from the property owner, I sent a new notice of violation along with a notice of hearing for today's date. And I got those back. And again, at this point, I didn't know that the property owner wasn't receiving his mail at his address listed with the property appraiser. This is the posting of the notice of hearing that I put back on the same shed. And I've noted that when you actually tell somebody that there's going to be a hearing, oddly enough, they find a way to contact you. So this is the notice on property. This is the posting here at South Walton Annex. This is the affidavit of service that I completed. And these are the conditions today. Now, what you'll note in the difference in the previous photos is that most of the vehicles that were in the front of the property have been removed. I got a call from Mr. Hogan's, the property owner, this morning. He was, again, having some medical issues and was going through a medical process. He says, oh, I'm going to be there tonight. He says, but right after my process, I'm going to get out there and start working on the property. I told him, I said, don't kill yourself, sir. I said, whatever happens tonight, you're still going to have some time to work on your property. But at least seeing the vehicles now removed, I know that he's making steps. And then this is the right portion of the property, still showing a considerable amount of junk and debris. What I would ask is that you please find that the address 112 Blue Ridge Boulevard, Defuniak Springs, is located within the unincorporated area of Walton County and is subject to Chapter 7 of the Walton County Land Development Code. I'd ask that you find that a violation of the Walton County Land Development Code, Section 7.02.01A1, does exist on the property. I'd ask that you find that the proper notice of the hearing was given to the respondent. And I would ask that the respondent is to correct the violation within 20 days of the date of this order, and the respondent is further ordered to contact the Walton County Code Enforcement Department to arrange for a reinspection of the subject property to verify compliance with this order. I would also ask that if the respondent fails to comply with the above actions or fails to bring the property into compliance with the applicable codes, ordinances, and regulations according to this order, the board assess a fine of $50 a day until the property is brought into compliance. I know that it's subjective, but I chose $50 because I wanted it to have weight, but I didn't want it to penalize the property owner in this case. I have reason to believe that $50 a day will get the property owner's attention. I've also told him that, you know, I'll work with him, but we need to have this matter resolved. So at this point, I would ask the board to accept my presentation and final report. And if you have any questions, I didn't see the property owner come in today, so I can't answer to that.
How many days did you say?
Yeah, how many days?
How many days?
I asked for 20 days, sir. He advised me today that he's got some fellows that can help him out. So I might work with Anna and maybe see if we can potentially get him a dumpster or something to help him out there as well.
30 days good?
He asked for 20. That's what Mr. Lynch asked for.
With the amount of stuff there, and if he's got help, I think 20 days is adequate. And if he asks for an extension, I'm not opposed to that. I just need to see progress. I think that's reasonable.
I make a motion we accept it. He closed the hearing or anything?
You first have to accept.
I'll accept Mr. Lynch's testimony into evidence. And you made the motion, Gordon?
I make a motion. we
Anybody
accept
second the motion?
A second.
Anybody want to comment?
I want to, should we then, you mentioned if he needs an extension, I mean, should we,
Put that
does
on.
that need to be included in the motion if he needs one?
They can
grant
verify that to him.
At Officer Lynch's discretion?
I've told Mr. Hogan's that
You
if he
can,
weren't
yes.
here tonight, then I would discuss with him the proceedings and how we can go forth, and I will pass that on to him.
Don't tell him you got an extension, so
I'll know. I don't show my cards that easy.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion carries. Do we need to take a break, or do you want to power through? Okay.
Keep going.
Thank you, Board.
Well, look, we're going to take a break. We'll give it 5 minutes. How's that?
Manager Lynch, is this your original vehicle?
Ready? Yes. All right, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Mr. Rose, are you going to do number 3 for us?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, please proceed.
All right. Good evening. My name is Kurt Rose, Code Enforcement Officer. For the record, I am submitting this final report and this PowerPoint presentation as evidence. Chairman, do you accept these?
I do.
Thank you. All right, this is Code Enforcement Case 17-000-2926. The property owner is Highway 98 Parcel LLC. The land use is mixed use district. This is in violation of 13.03.01 of the Scenic Corridor Standards. In particular, this one will fall to the standards where the air conditioning units need to be covered and not in view of Highway 98. On March 2nd, a complaint was received by the Walton County Code Enforcement Office concerning AC units exposed on the rooftop in violation of the Scenic Corridor Standards at 6757 Highway 98 Suite 401, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida 32459, which is located in the unincorporated area of Walton County. At the time, Officer Reichert conducted the initial site inspection and determined the parcel was in violation of Ordinance 97-28 of the Walton County Land Development Code, Code 13.03.0113. That's shown here. It is since this went out has been updated to 6.11.04H2. Both contained exactly the same language, that all air conditioning units, transformers, backflow preventers, and other utility devices must be screened from the public view. During the court, now remember this is March 2nd of 2017. So that's where we're at as far as timeline goes date-wise, which I have those dates up there for you now. This photo represents where they're located. This is actually taken from across the street by myself. This is right about where the Walmart is, looking across at the building. The red arrows indicate where the air conditioning units are visible from the roadway. During the next few weeks, planner Tim Brown worked with the property to try to bring it into compliance. On May 23rd of 2017, information received from planner Tim Brown showed the DRB denied an application for a use of a vegetative wall as shielding median, as this was not a permanent coverage. There were other issues that were corrected over the next several months, including a monument sign, landscaping plants, and others. However, the front entry, or plants at the front entry, and however, the AC units had never been addressed at that point. In August of 10th of 2017, a notice of violation was sent certified mail to the property owner, Highway 98 Parcel LLC, using the Walton County Property Appraisers Database, with a compliance time frame of 10 days after receiving the notice. On November 28th, 2017, contractor Chad Hoganson stated he was in the process of submitting new plans to cover the air conditioning units on the roof and requested additional time to do so. On December 6th, a new variance was applied for. On January 19th, 2018, Tim Brown informed code enforcement that the new application had been denied, citing statements made during the previous design review meeting that planning staff could approve screening if it can withstand the wind zone of 160 miles an hour, opacity and materials used are of the usual nature, and a building permit was obtained to attach the screening to the roof. This was a statement made by the DRB board at the time of the first hearing. Officer Riker notified Tina Robertson, who was an agent for the property at the time, about the findings. On January 23rd, 2018, Code Enforcement Manager Williams took over the case to work with the property owners to help bring them into compliance. That is the last note I have as far as that goes for that time frame. I don't know what happened between last January and this January. On January 17th, this case was brought to my attention. An inspection of the property revealed that the AC units were still visible from the roadway on Highway 98. I emailed Tina Robinson, who had done the previous request, requesting an update on the case. I received no response. On January 23rd, 2019, I issued a notice of hearing to the registered agent, Highway 98 Parcel LLC. I sent it to the listed business address, the home address listed on the Whatcom County Property Appraisers website, as well as to the registered agent for the company. As of this date, there has been no further contact from the property owner. The property is still in violation as of today, and the air conditioning units are still visible from the scenic corridor. This slide shows the signature card that was returned for the notice of violation that was sent out in 2017. The notice of hearings I sent out were signed and returned by the registered agent and by the owner's listing address. And once again, this is what the building looks like today. As you can see, it's pretty much similar to the way it was before. I kind of hyperimposed the arrows back on there so you can see them. It's still exactly the same spot. There's been no coverage or addition to it. No further permits have been applied for to try to cover them up. And I've received no communication whatsoever from anyone in regards to this. My conclusion is this is a lawfully constituted code enforcement proceedings convened pursuant to Chapter 162, Part 1 of the Florida Statutes and Chapter 12 of Walton County Land Development Code. The Code Board has jurisdiction over this subject matter and the respondent. Notice of this proceeding has been duly provided to the respondent as required by the county code. The respondent, Highway 98 Parcel LLC, by reason of the foregoing facts, is in violation of 13.03.0113 of the county code, and the respondent is subject to the enforcement jurisdiction of this board. It's my recommendation that the Code Enforcement Board determine, 1, that the address 6757 Highway 98, Suite 401, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida 32459, is located in the unincorporated area of Walton County and is subject to Chapter 13.03.0113 of the Walton County Land Development Code. That proper notice for this hearing was given to the respondent. That a violation of Walton County Land Development Code Section 1303.0113 does exist on the property. The respondent is to correct the violations within 30 days of the date of this order. The respondent is further ordered to contact the Walton County Code Enforcement Department to arrange for a reinspection of the subject property to verify compliance with this order. That if the respondent fails to comply with the above actions or fails to bring the property into compliance with the applicable codes, ordinances, and regulations according to this order, the board assesses a fine of $250 a day until the property is brought into compliance. The justification for $250 a day is they have had well over a year to reapply for and obtain a permit to screen in the air conditioning units. And for all intents and purposes, nothing has been done since then. There's been no contact with the county to do so. This is a commercial business with multiple businesses running out of it. $250 a day should not be a problem. It should be enough, I hope, to get their attention to make them do what they need to do accordingly. If you have any questions for me, I'll take questions. When I'm done, I have Lee Moore here from the Design Review Board that would like to say a few words also.
Yeah, go ahead.
Officer Rose, thank you for your diligent service. Let me ask you something. This building, when it was built and received the CO, it was non-compliant upon that date. Is that correct?
The structure
Yes.
of the building was more than likely non-compliant with the scenic corridor standards. Now, that being said,
We got a problem in the county right here.
that being said, the building inspectors are not, that inspect the Florida Building Code side of it, the structural components, are not required to inspect all of the accessory components that go along with the development order. Their sole job is to inspect the structural components and verify. That's how you obtain a certificate of occupancy for the project.
No,
So
but
they would
that-
not have even looked for a valance or cover or protector or anything like that.
But that would have been, and this might not be something that you're aware of, I would think, someone in planning should be whoever the manager for that, this project is not that old, and it goes through a separate design, scenic corridor review.
Correct.
Approval process, which, my question is, what was in the original plans, architectural plans, as far as a screen for those items to begin with?
Mac, if you can speak to what was originally there?
I can speak directly to that. When this came to the Design Review Board, there was no rooftop equipment visible. When it was constructed, the contractor that installed it placed it on a pedestal which raised it up above any particular parapet, so it was visible once it was installed, but not visible when it came through the Design Review
All right,
Board.
well, that answers that question. All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Other questions for Mr. Rose?
No?
That gentleman sitting there.
Yeah, he will be for the respondent, yes, sir.
Okay, so do we want to hear from Ms. Moore now? I guess, might as well, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Moore?
Thank you. Lee Moore, M-O-O-R-E, and I am a member of the Design Review Board. I was not on the Design Review Board when the development originally came through, but I have been when this has come up at multiple meetings, and I was on the board and still am, but was when the variance, the deviation request came through. So let me say, first of all, I am not here representing the Design Review Board. I am just a member of the board. When I saw this item on the agenda for tonight, it got my attention because it's come up multiple times in our meetings. And I did remember, and we've actually asked since that deviation request was denied, for a status on this, so it's pretty top of mind. And I just wanted to say that, you know, they did come before us for the deviation. I agree with you that there's an issue here beyond just the fact that they're not in compliance today. And I hope that at some point there will be a system developed such that this never even gets to this point, that it's caught much earlier, because it does make it does become challenging for us on the design review board. You know, we all sort of eventually impact one another in different ways. And, you know, when we have people come before us for deviations and the applicant can see non-compliant examples around, especially on recent developments, that can become challenging for us. So that's just sort of an aside that speaks to the importance of this issue, I think. But we did have the deviation request, and the officer is accurate. We turned it down, and the owner did say that he would bring it into compliance, and as you can see, that was many months ago, and we've all been sort of waiting for that to happen. So I just want to say, for me personally, as a citizen, as a member of the Design Review Board, and as somebody that cares about you know, the way that things are done and the way that things are built and look, this is important to me, and I hope that it will be brought into compliance as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sir, would you please, have you been sworn in?
No, sir.
Would you stand and be sworn in, please?
I state your name.
Lee Nettles.
I do solemnly swear that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Do solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Would you step up to the podium, please?
Yes, sir.
And state your name for the record and spell it, please.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Lee Nettles, L-E-E-N-E-T-T-L-E-S. I am the property manager for this location. And Mr. Chairman and Board, thank you for having me. I hope you're as happy to see me as I am to see you this evening.
We haven't eaten yet.
I will say, I took over management of this property several months ago, and was inherited with this issue, and have worked with the property owner to get it resolved. And honestly, I will say the owner is eager to get this resolved and compliant with the county. There were issues. We did have a contractor that had screening involved and had an issue to be done by the end of the year, and there were issues with the owner and the contractor that fell through. Since that time, we had been pushing it, but since the owner did receive the certified letter, we've obviously pushed that effort up a level. I have photos, if I can show you those, of a equipment screening that we are willing to put around the air conditioner on the floor. And if you are acceptable with that, these will be done within 30 days.
Can I accept those into
We
evidence?
don't know if it's up to code or not.
Well, you can certainly take a look at it.
Yeah, I'd like to look at it.
Would you like it?
Yeah.
Vote on that. Do you have the engineering specs with it?
No, sir, just a photograph.
It's just a picture.
They're all the same? Yeah.
And these are screens that would just cover
Do you have
the,
an engineer willing to sign off on it?
I can have an engineer sign off on them, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tom, I don't
And
understand what he's trying to say. What kind of screening is he talking about?
Well, I just don't see them at all. That's some pretty good
What's the
screening.
screen?
yeah, that's the point, I thought.
Well, where are they?
Well, if you, at the top,
you don't see, you do not see the,
Oh, I
they
see.
cover the AC units.
Yeah. Well, it's not ours, I don't think, to decide what compliance is and what isn't. It's simply ours to enforce that you do come into compliance. And I guess this goes back to who is it that's looking out for violations against the scenic corridor? And that's,
That would be your officers and the planning department, you know, it comes into.
it's to our code enforcement officers to, is that the way it works? Mac, is that right?
The planning department will be consulted to approve whatever screening material that they propose as being code compliant.
But it's up to our code enforcement officers, if a complaint is registered, to investigate?
Yes, sir, and that's why this case is before you.
There was a complaint.
We had a formal complaint.
I got it.
Part of the
Yeah.
remedy was to go to the design review board.
Yeah.
Because they wanted particular live plant materials to be used as screening. This
didn't
particular
fly.
flavor
Yeah.
is not part of the approved material that's allowed in the scenic corridor. They asked for a deviation. The design review board denied their request and directed them to come into compliance, and we're not yet, and that's why we're here tonight.
Okay.
A
Well,
question?
that makes it pretty black and white, yes.
Is it possible to get the permit and get all the construction done within 30 days?
Yes, sir. I mean, from what I'm told.
Mac, so what's the formal process? Do they have to go back through building department to?
I believe they're gonna have to get a building permit to install these on the top of the roof due to the wind load requirements for something that high up in the air in this particular window.
So whatever this, and it's hard to tell exactly what it is, but it would be reviewed, engineering specs and design and so forth.
Yes, it
would
will,
be
as soon as it's
structurally and
submitted.
otherwise analyzed and.
And the planning department will expedite our portion of this review in favor of this board if you choose to grant them some time to correct
Have
it.
you started that process yet?
We are willing, here to find out what we need to do.
Okay, all right, that's enough. Okay, so that would be a no.
Yeah,
Not yet.
not yet.
Mr. Carpenter's 30 days long enough?
I think that would be adequate time, certainly for the permitting portion of it, all the way through the building department. Have no idea how long the contractor would take to actually get the material on site and get it properly installed.
Does it have to go back to the?
I think probably 30 days would be a good amount of time, and if they have some kind of delay, they could come back and ask for an extension of time from this board.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions? If not, we'll close the public part of the hearing. You done?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion or a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the code officer's recommendation.
Okay. Somebody second it?
I'll second.
All right. Anybody got some thing to say before I call the question? If not,
If they don't come back before the board with an agreement, then it starts, I mean, there'll be a penalty after that, right?
I guess he's got 30 days from, how does it work, 30 days from today?
30 days, however, we would, if we don't have a
Oh.
code meeting,
Yeah.
you need to give discretion to, Mr. Lynch
Yeah, that'd be fine.
to waive it during that interim if we don't happen to have a board meeting.
That goes without standing, doesn't it?
Not necessarily, I mean, if your order says 30 days and they're not compliance. you
I'm
might-
just
Okay,
saying,
can I
I'd see
change-
something done within the 30 days, whether they get through with it or not,
It's
and
been a
I'd just
couple
like to
years
see some
now.
movement. you know?
Yeah. All right, so you made the motion, Victor?
Well, I'd amend my motion to, if there's not a code board meeting, to give discretion to the code officer. Is that appropriate?
I'll second that.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion carries. Okay, one last case, and this is a letter requesting an extension. Yes.
Case 4, right? Miramar Beach.
Yeah.
Does it have to go back to another committee?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but eventually it'll have to.
Yeah, does he just pick Florida?
Insurance on steel?
You know, Dean Shaw's doing all of,
Who is?
Dean Shaw.
Martin Tucker used to run it. Best husband, Martin, he graduated with me.
And then the,
Well, when we were kids, there's this parachuter baker that used to have a baker, that was. But that is our call. Remember that when the Clarks had a 55 Bolton Ford that sat by the school for about 20 years? I asked Jimmy, I go, how many miles is on that Bolton 55 Ford? He goes, almost 59 miles, but it was a quarter mile at a time.
It's gotta be a concrete roof, probably.
Is this the last case?
Yep,
Or the last thing?
the last event.
Item.
I think he took that card baker now, I think about it.
Familiar, I don't know.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so once again, my name is Kurt Rose, Walton County Code Enforcement Officer. This is case 173374, Jeffrey and Terry Tate. This is a request for an extension. You may all remember this has been back a couple of times now. This has to do with the pool pavers and the setback. They are awaiting code language update. The current land development code has been entirely updated except for that chapter 4, or that chapter 4 or 5? Chapter 5, which contains the language that they are waiting for. So it is not completed yet. Basically, they have issued a letter, which I've given to Renee. I'll cut to the chase. They are asking for an additional 90 days, as it is anticipated that the amendments of Chapter 5 of the Land Development Code will be adopted, beginning with the vote by the Board of County Commissioners on February 12th, 2019. As contemplated in the order, should Section 503 of the Land Development Code be amended such that the present condition of the property does not constitute a violation, that no fines or fees would accrue and the order would be void.
And what happened on February 12th?
March 12th.
Okay.
Thus, their initial letter said February 12th. It has been pushed to March 12th for that. I would probably recommend 90 days from today. My recommendation would be to grant them an additional 90 days from today to allow the code to come into fruition and be adopted. That gives them the rest of February, all of March, and into April. Then we would be back in May to talk about it again if something happens that doesn't encourage that.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
First need to make sure there's nobody in the audience that speaks to it.
Anybody in the audience?
I don't see anybody too likely. Okay, let's make the motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the recommendation.
All right.
Yeah, second.
All right, got 2 seconds and a motion. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, hearing no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Great presentation, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some,